Hi, everybody. I want to welcome you to this 12 o'clock session on ArcGIS Indoors for Facility Management. I'm Elizabeth. I'm going to be moderating the chat, so please feel free to send your questions through the chat. We're going to be saving about 5 minutes at the end of the presentation to discuss those questions. And I'm going to actually turn it over now to our two speakers, Andrew Hayes and Lee Kimmel.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lee Kimmel. I'm a technology analyst with Raleigh Water, and I work under Andrew Hayes. And we're going to talk about the ArcGIS Indoors Facility Management today. I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our presentation on utilizing ArcGIS Indoors for vertical asset management. I am Andrew Hayes, and I'm a technology supervisor for Raleigh Water. Raleigh Water is part of the city of Raleigh, and we provide water and sewer services to about 200,000 metered customers and serve a population of about 600,000. Raleigh Water is a little unique in the fact that we provide services not just for the city of Raleigh, but we also provide service to surrounding communities, including Gardner, Wake Forest, Roseville, Knightdale, Wendell, and Zebulon. Today, we're really excited to talk about our experience with ArcGIS Indoors. So several years ago, Raleigh Water had an initiative to enhance our vertical asset management program for our treatment facilities. Part of that asset management program included extending the use of our asset management software, Cityworks, into our treatment facilities. Since Cityworks is a GIS-centric asset management system, and we had 0 assets for our treatment facilities in GIS, this created a unique opportunity and challenge for the GIS team. However, there was one requirement that really helped guide our decisions, and that came from our Raleigh Water Cityworks team. They had requested that the end user experience while using Cityworks remain consistent, whether the user was working on an asset in our linear system, such as a fire hydrant or a sewer manhole, or on an asset from our vertical systems, such as a pump or a motor within a treatment facility. This request shifted us away from designing a series of related tables and instead led us to seek out a solution where our assets would be available as points and lines on a map. In order to identify and map the locations of features within our facilities, we had to first find a way to map the facilities themselves. And this is really where ArcGIS Indoors emerged as a critical piece to the success of our vertical asset management program. Before we dive too deep into the technical aspects of the indoor solution, I just want to say that this project is really a result of a lot of great work from a lot of great people working together to make this a successful project. This includes our partners within Raleigh Water, including our Raleigh Water Cityworks folks, our Raleigh Water Treatment Facility folks, and really everyone involved with the vertical asset management project. It also includes our partners in IT. Our IT GIS and our IT Cityworks teams have been very helpful and a huge factor into the success of this project. We've also been really lucky to have great relationships with our business partners at Esri and at Cityworks, and they've been really helpful in providing support along the way. I'm also really fortunate to have a really talented group of GIS folks that I get to work with every day within our Raleigh Water GIS team. But the collaboration that we've had with all these other amazing teams that have helped with this project has been really rewarding, and I just want to thank everyone that's contributed to the success of this project. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lee Kimmel. Lee is our technology analyst within the Raleigh Water GIS team. Lee has been the technical lead on the Indoors project, and he's really done an amazing job of taking this vision and turning it into a reality. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lee.
Hey, everyone. hopefully I'm not too informal with this presentation and don't talk too fast. But as Andrew was talking about, we were looking for a solution for our vertical asset project. So we had a departmental mandate / objective to create a vertical asset management solution. And we currently track our assets in an older style database that's not spatially aware and doesn't even have room information in it. So we had an old database with assets that were named without unique identifiers, without spatial locations. So we were really trying to get this developed in a productive new way. So we're looking for different solutions. And we realized what we needed to move forward was solutions to collect those assets. And we realized we needed tools to identify the spaces that the assets are going to go into, as well as collecting them with their room information. So we need the X, Y, Z location of the assets, as well as the actual identifier of that space. So we were looking for solutions and came across ArcGIS Indoors for space conversion from CAD data into GIS data. So we were looking into that back in the beta program a couple years ago and started developing tests with it and found out that it would integrate pretty well with our departmental mandate. So we analyzed our current data, so our spaces in our previous database. And as I said before, we didn't really have any of those spaces really identified. So part of the objective was to go out and identify spaces, find all the data that we have, CAD data, line drawings of structures, as well as any asset data that we could migrate. So then we would analyze that. We did analyze that, and then found out that we couldn't really migrate much of the asset data. But we did locate a lot of the CAD data and began to convert that and build it out into the ArcGIS Indoors. Then we would test the product and go live. So part of this today is going to go over that technical detail of the conversion and what the CAD data looked like and how we cleaned it up and moved it into Indoors. So what is ArcGIS Indoors? ArcGIS Indoors is advertised as a complete software solution. It's basically tools to convert your architectural CAD data into GIS. And that software solution comes with an ArcGIS Pro license. And within that, you have Indoors Toolbox. And within that solution, you have the tools to convert the CAD data itself, but then they provide you a Excel data sheet to map out the layers that you're going to use from the CAD, as well as the facility information. So you need to know the vertical height of the structures, and you need to know the relative height. So there's a lot of kind of technical information you know about your structures that you have to input into that information so it gets properly applied to the attributes. The Indoor solution also comes with the ArcGIS Indoors Information Model. So it's basically a schema that sets up how Indoors is going to work between the different products that it comes with. So we have the web applications, ArcGIS Pro, as well as routing and wayfinding functions from Indoors. So Indoors comes with, as well as a portal, a data store, and a server. And with portal, you have an ArcGIS Indoors web application that you will not find on your normal ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS portal. So that web application is specific to Indoors and has new functionality in it that is pretty useful for utilizing that indoor space. The portal also offers solutions for network routing and wayfinding / positioning. And it as well comes with a mobile application for iOS or Android. And this utilizes a mobile map package that you publish, and your users are able to download that package, and then they should be able to view your structures. So basically, I want to start with moving from CAD data to ArcGIS Indoors. So if you're like us or most other institutions, this is what your typical CAD files are going to look like at first. So we have to basically go in and analyze the layers that we needed to move over to GIS. And you can see here, there's tons of layers in this CAD data. And we only needed a few of them. So part of the process was locating all the CAD data and then cleaning it up. So after we clean it up, we want it to kind of look like this before we move it to Indoors. So you can see here that I have cleaned up the CAD data to take only the specific layers that we need to ArcGIS Indoors. In this process, we then take that CAD data and load it from AutoCAD or whatever CAD solution you're using into ArcGIS Pro. And then we'll push that over to ArcGIS Indoors. So this is a video showing ArcGIS Pro and our CAD data. So after we clean it up, we import it into Pro. And you can see here we have each layer for the floors. So we have the basement, first floor, and second floor. And within those layers, we have the CAD data specifically. And you can turn them on and off to view the different layers and the data that they contain. When I open this back up, so you can see we then have to georeference this data. So you can click on a polyline and then go over to your manage function to click on georeferencing. And you have to locate the structure in the real world and then apply control points or whatever you need to do to georeference it. And then you move it to the correct location. So you can see here, I have the imagery of that structure. This is our, at Raleigh Water Utilities, this is our headworks building. Once we georeference it, you can see it overlays nicely. After that, you can then run to the GIS toolboxes for indoors, and then you can import, after you fill out the spreadsheet, you can import the data utilizing the toolbox into a geodatabase for indoors. So after you run all that, you get a couple, a couple outputs. You get a web map that's 2D, a 3D web map, a network map, and a publishing map. So I should go to the web map here in a second. So this is what the export looks like from the 2D web map. So you can see here the facility data has been added in as polygons and polylines. And we have different outputs. We have places and things, safety and security, as well as facility levels, units, zones, and details. So you get and then we have a bunch of configuration tables that we'll utilize in the web maps. So you can see here, this is the standard output. It's also vertically aware. So if I enable this range function, I can filter through the different levels. So I'm going to cycle through these, and you can see that the assets, as well as the places and things and safety and security points, are filtered out as well. You can see in the middle of that polygon right here, we have a couple of icons that look like little screens, and those are part of our vertical asset project. Down there is places and things, and they're all integrated into this pretty nicely. This categories table is how you set up basically the categories for the web map to read from, and I'll get into that later, but you set up the categories for your points. So we had to do this for the places and things as well as the vertical assets. And hopefully go to the, here we go. Yeah, so the vertical assets, this is what we created from our tables. So we have a bunch of different asset types, but I'll get into that later as well. But cycling through the floors just one more time. Hopefully I can go to the 3D map now. So the 3D output shows you also spatially aware, multi-patch, as well as a mixture of polygon features. And I'm overlaying this on the base map so you can see in 3D where the structure is and the heights, as well as the range function. So I'm cycling through the ranges. And one thing to note here is that some of our structures are underground. So we can't see the basement of the building until we turn the base map off, but they're still there and they're viewable in the 2D map. So this is a function that will be hopefully updated as time goes on, but currently we have to view that in 2D for the indoors process. But so this is a typical 3D output you would get. And hopefully I go back here. Yeah, so I want to talk about the network as well. So one of the other outputs that you get from the indoors tool set are these network lines. So this is generated from your doorways and your polygons inside of your CAD data. So it generates all possible directions that you can take and generates that network line that you will then later publish. And it's that network line is also 3D. So it has a Z values to it. And click on that. So you can see right here on this network, the transitions and the network paths themselves, as well as the nodes. So this is what you use in the web apps to route yourself. So you have to go to, basically through this process, go through a network analysis tool set, and you'll click on the closest facility as well as the route tools. And that will create a network publish map that you will then push up to your portal that will act as a web layer that you can utilize in your indoors web app. So I think that's the end of this. So I want to talk about the ArcGIS Indoors portal and the apps itself. So I'm going to go here really quick. So this is our ArcGIS Indoors portal. And this is the web map that would be published that the ArcGIS Indoors app consumes. So you can see here we have our polygons, our lines, all the layers in this web map, as well as our vertical assets that we had created and pushed into the system as well. Once this is configured, we then utilize the Indoors viewer. So this is the app that is created for ArcGIS Indoors specifically. So this is what this app looks like. You can see here, it looks similar to a web map, but we have filtering options over here for our campuses. These are the different treatment campuses that we have, as well as facilities. So these are all the buildings that we have in our indoor system right now. Within this app, we can have 3 different options that we can go through. We can do an explore function. So this allows us to look at points that are in the map. So you can see this is our administration building and lab building at our treatment plant. And if I click on this places and things category, I can see the different types of places and things that are currently in this view. So, and if I click on one of them, like conference rooms, it'll show me all the available conference rooms. This My Places is a tab that allows you to save, basically bookmark places that you're visited or you want to keep in mind, as well as this option for directions. So if I wanted to navigate in the indoors environment, you can click on this navigate and select a room that you want to start in. So let's do the conference room. And if we want to navigate to another room in the building, I know this is a small example, but across a larger campus, this will be helpful for navigating to different spaces, offices, and assets. So you can navigate to points as well as polygons. So I can click on this lab right here, and it should give me a direction. So you can see I have turn-by-turn directions, and this will be true across the entire campus. So if I wanted to navigate from that room to another structure, I could go to one of these other structures on the campus and navigate there. I want to move over here and talk about our assets within the system. So you can see here, this is our Headworks building again. And with our data collection process, we went out and tagged and collect all our assets. And they are now visible in the ArcGIS Indoors platform. So you can see right here, we have our screens within the Headworks area, as well as our valves in this part. So if I click on one of these polygons, I should be able to get a pop-up of this room. And it gives me all the attribute information that's useful, as well as if I click on this related items, it tells me what's in the room. Should hopefully tell me, let's see if I can go back here and get this. Sorry, sometimes this configuration is not working for me, but it should ideally tell you all the assets that are in the room, but the configuration might not be working. I apologize for that. I had tested it earlier and I had it working, but let me show you for this building. If I go to, sorry about this. So if I click on the conference room, it should tell me the related items in here. So it should tell me that there's a place of interest in this particular polygon. So I apologize for that, but ideally it will tell you all the asset types as well as the points of interest and other information that is in that area. We can also have a 3D view of the structures on the web. So this is a view of our admin building as well as our lab building in 3D. So this provides you the same information, pop-ups and all that the 2D view does. It's just a different way of viewing the Indoors portal. And unfortunately with this, you can't see underground levels. So as you can see here, I can filter down to the basement in the 2D map. So if I go back to our Headworks building that has a basement, should be able to, once it goes. If I get this to move. So here we go, sorry. So if I click on basement, I should be able to view the basement only from the 2D map. Oh, sorry, I have a asset selected. It should cycle down to the basement. So there we go. Let me go back to the presentation. So for ArcGIS Indoors, the usefulness that comes from this is our facility management. So we are able to do space analysis from this. So we can look at how much space is being utilized, who is located in what space, and what assets are in those spaces. We're able to do work orders against the spaces, as well as navigate in them. And the same is true for our vertical assets. They integrate with the indoor solution, they're spatially aware, they're compatible to the navigation, and they're dynamic. We can update them, and we can create new ones. We can also, in the field apps application, we can update assets, add assets, and update spaces. I had a video for this. This is what the field maps looks like for indoors. I think I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to be able to go through all this, but this is basically just showing you the process of collecting an asset. So, sorry, apologize for that. So basically in this video, I was just adding this control panel. And I can apologize for this. So just to show you in field apps, you have all the assets in here. You can scroll through them, click on one, and add the point to a selected area. So I'm moving the point around, and I can add that asset. You can then enter all the asset attribute information that you need. And within the field apps right now, it takes the room ID, but we're currently working on functionality to take all the information that's in the ArcGIS Indoors Information Model. So the building name, the room name, the level number. So right now, again, it only takes room ID. And I guess that concludes the presentation for now. There's a lot to talk about, and hopefully in the future we'll have more time to do a more in-depth presentation. So if anybody has any questions, we're open now for them.
Riley and Andrew, thanks. This is really, really impressive stuff. I do want to share one comment before I move to the questions. Stephanie Edwards says, wow, now that's really cool. And I totally agree with her. We do have a question from Danny Smith. He says, fascinating. How do you recommend maintaining data integrity in this app after it's operational?
Data integrity. So for our facilities and for our assets, we utilize subtypes as well as domains. So integrity, as far as like what our field crew or our GIS staff have the ability to input, is we can limit it based off of drop-down options. And that's true for the field apps as well. As far as like the facility name and the unit name, like the room name, we're still working with Esri on getting solutions to take that information for where that asset is sitting spatially, all those attributes into that asset or point of interest. So that way, if we move stuff around, it should automatically take it with it. But right now we don't have that option. So we're limited to domains and subtypes for this.
And Danny also asked, is there an option for someone put in the field to provide feedback for asset revisions, etc., or report errors?
So as far as reporting errors are concerned or revisions, they can do a couple things. They can put in information in notes, or if they are in the right position or they're part of the right crew, they should be able to add or move the assets themselves and update any attributes that they are aware that need to be changed. Another option they would have is to put a work order in through Cityworks for a GIS update, and they should be able to specify the changes they need, and our GIS staff will be able to go in and make those changes.
Okay, great. The questions are really coming in now. So I have one from Brett Spivey. He asks, how difficult is it to share this content with an enterprise-wide portal, like for the ArcGIS portal for the entire city of Raleigh?
So it's actually pretty easy to share the content with your entire organization or publicly. It just depends on your ability to administrate that portal. So if you make a web app, you can make it public so anybody can see it, or you can share it within certain groups and add users to those groups. So only specific groups can see that, the application that you have. Other options are you can link in the data sets from, let's say, ArcGIS Online. You can bring ArcGIS Online data into your Indoors portal, and you can link it in that way using credentials from ArcGIS Online or vice versa to show data that you need. But again, as far as sharing that with the portal itself, since ArcGIS Indoors is its own portal, with the entire city, as long as somebody has a portal account, they should be able to view the data. If if it's limited to the organization. Now, if it's public, anybody should be able to log in as long as they have the URL and be able to see that application.
We've got a question from Mark Clifford. He asks, are there ways to restrict access to restricted facilities like data centers or inmate locations?
So there are a couple options for doing that. We haven't really looked into that too much yet because a lot of our facilities we would consider, I guess, restricted in some ways. We don't really want to share that information entirely publicly since we're a water treatment facility and it's kind of critical infrastructure. But you could put definition queries on your services to limit, like if you have a public-facing service or application, you can limit who sees what in that application based off of definition queries, or you can publish critical structures as their own separate services and require credentials to log into those. So that way you don't have everything load up in the same application without logging in again. So there are a couple different options you could do to set that up, but to answer that question, yes, you can limit who sees what.
I do want to share one comment, and we've got two other questions. Carl Stern says, really impressive work. And Andrew, well done. Beth Canada asks, is this integrated with Cityworks for work order management? And she also says, very nice.
Excellent, thank you. To answer Beth's question, it is currently integrated sort of with Cityworks. So we have the option of clicking on an asset and taking that information over to Cityworks and creating a work order on it. But there is a more in-depth integration with Indoors and Cityworks that is available, but we do not currently have access to that on our production servers. We're waiting for a Cityworks upgrade, and once we get that upgrade going through, we will have that integration available. But yes, there is one there.
All right. Rob Sadwick asks, do you have to depend on CAD drawings for structural plans? How do you update modeling or additions to existing facilities?
Well, that's a good question. You don't have to have CAD drawings for structures per se, but to utilize the solution correctly, I would recommend you use CAD drawings. But if you have a structure that's renovated and you ran through the tool initially and created your output for that facility, and you get CAD data in later on for that facility, you should be able to just load that CAD data in that DWG with that. It should still have the same spatial reference to it. So as long as it's that same kind of reference in the CAD data itself. Now, if it doesn't have the same spatial reference, you have to redo your references, but you should just be able to run it through the tool again, and it will overwrite the data you have. So you can replace that and have a smooth transition so you don't have a lot of downtime for your end users. But you should be able to just update it through the tool.
Lisa, we've got one other question. Beth also asks, were your CAD drawings 3D? Do they have a Z value?
So if you're using DWGs that are 3D with Z values, that's supported by ArcGIS Pro to view the 3D data and push it up to a web scene. But with Indoors, most of the data that you utilize is going to be like the 2D polygons with Z values. So you won't necessarily see the elevation adjustment in Pro unless you have it in a web scene. But if the CAD data has Z values, it won't necessarily read that from the tool. So you have to fill the Z value information out in the spreadsheet they provide you for facility information. And that will give the CAD data the correct Z values when you load it into the tool. So you still need to know those values before you run it.
And I think that's the last question. We do have a couple more comments. One from Dale Tiska. He says, great work. Julie also says, great presentation, Lee and Andrew. And I totally agree. This is some awesome stuff. I just want to let everybody know we do have our 12:30 session. That's actually starting in about a minute. So please join that. And we have our final closing session at 1. Lee and Andrew, if you don't have anything else to add, I'm going to be copying the chat for you and closing down this session.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
All right, bye.